Now we'll hear a few best practices, the experience, the success stories of building and managing an effective and efficient regional hub, but from South Westphalia. Please welcome on stage to address the subject of facilitating digital collaboration across EDIHs and the broader AI innovation ecosystem, Mr. Robert Fischbach, Operational Manager of the EDIH of South Westphalia.
Yeah, first of all, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for having me today. I think I can make some connections to the first presentation right now. And as you now already know what a regional EDI is, let's talk about how EDIs can work more effectively together. So my name is Robert Fischbach, and as already announced, I'm from Germany, from South Westphalia. So it's an industrialized rural region in Western Germany. And we developed a thing that we call EDI Hub. And I want to talk a little bit about it and also the reasons why we developed that hub. So first of all, I need to switch the slide. Let me give you a short overview of my short talk today. I want to share with you the story behind the platform that created. And I will introduce you to some collaboration, to a collaboration study, and I will present some results to you that we gained there. After that, I will explain the basic structure of our platform, and unfortunately, it's not possible for me to give that live demo that I originally wanted to give because I don't have a computer here, but I have a plan B, so I included some screenshots of the platform so that you can see it. And after that, I will shed a little bit of light to possible future developments. So I would like to start with a slide which is not from me, but it is from the DTA. And the DTA is the so-called Digital Transformation Accelerator, really complicated word. But the DTA is responsible for coordinating all the EDI activities throughout Europe. Imagine that we have around about 250 EDIs all over the European Union and associated countries. And therefore, it is totally clear that we need an instance that coordinates all the activities. And back in the day, it was 2023, they gave a presentation when all the EDIs throughout Europe started. And they said, okay, here are some things how you can cooperate with each other. For example, you can deliver a service in joint partnership to companies, but you can also use the resources of other EDIs. And what we saw in the last years is that this is mainly theory, but this is not how practice looks like. Because what we saw is that EDIs, of course, collaborate here and there, but often they make an appointment, they meet each other digitally in a meeting and they say, hey, very nice to meet you, let's do something together, let's collaborate. And when the meeting is done, you often don't hear anything anymore from the specific EDI. So if you are from an EDI, you maybe also know this issue. And we had another situation that, of course, the EDIs in specific country, for example, also we in Germany, we are collaborating with each other. And in Germany, we didn't have had a platform for that. So we started with emails, and then we created a shared cloud repository where we could exchange some documents, but that's it. And then we decided to build a platform. And that was mainly our idea from South Westphalia. But we didn't want to build a platform without any empirical grounding. And as I'm also a researcher at the University of Siegen, I said, okay, let's do a study. And therefore, I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I started with a, as I call it, collaboration study. So I invited all EDIs in Europe to that date to participate in an interview. I did until now 39 interviews, so with round about 15% of all EDIs in the EU, which lasted round about 1 hour. And I asked them, what are your challenges? What are your obstacles in working together with each other? And I got plenty of answers, and I, of course, analyzed them, and I will give you at least some of the answers they gave me also in the presentation today. But due to the time constraints, I am not able to dig into every detail. So first of all, I did those 28 interviews with EDIs all over Europe. And in parallel, we started to create this collaboration platform. And the German EDIs are using it quite actively, and more European EDIs are joining. And therefore, at a later stage, I invited all the German EDIs for a kind of user test, and also to evaluate a new functionality, which is the EDI chatbot. I will come back to that later. So what did I found out? As I already said, 38 EDIs from 20 countries. Basically, we have 3 pillars. So the first pillar are cultural and geographical barriers. I think I do not need to go into detail here. You know what that means. German EDIs love to work together with German EDIs because they share the same language. And as we also see, we now have a broader circle where all the German-speaking EDIs are now working together, because they also speak German from Austria, Liechtenstein, and Germany. So EDIs love to work together with EDIs which also have the same language, maybe, and I bet that is also true for Bulgaria. Of course, there are different working and operating mechanisms. For example, think about time delays. For example, now we have 1 hour delay according to Germany, and there is also a large distance, so it takes time to travel from one country to the other. We also saw that there are structural barriers. That means, for example, that there is no formalized system for collaboration. So the EU wants that all the EDI work together, but at least the DTA didn't provide a platform or something to work together with each other. But let us give the second EDI or the new DTA a second chance. We will see if they make something different. Then that was also mentioned in the first presentation, different service prices. Yes, for example, as we heard, companies can work together with your EDI up to 10,000 euros. In Germany, you get all the services for free up to 300,000 euros. And in some other countries, you have to pay for the services. So, and that is sometimes confusing for the companies. And of course, we have different regulations in member states when it comes to co-funding. For example, I spoke with the EDIs from Czechia and from the Czech Republic. They were not allowed to work with companies from foreign countries because they received some of their co-funding from the Recovery and Resilience Facility. And so they were only allowed to invest that money within the Czech Republic. But the cultural and geographical barriers, as well as the structural barriers, are some things that we as a small EDI in Germany cannot really address. And therefore, we focus on the technical barriers, and the people from EDIs who are here might know the so-called EDI catalog. And what we found out is that there are some information asymmetries. So that means you can search for other EDIs. You can also find EDIs in other countries or in your own country. But when you want to know a little bit more what exactly they are doing, that is not really possible, because, for example, for EDI Südwestfalen, you can see that we are active in the domain of artificial intelligence, but you don't know what we are exactly doing. And therefore, there is a scientific phenomenon which we call articulation work, So you need to contact another Eddy, you need to write them an email to ask them, hey, I'm Robert from Germany, what are you doing and can you help me with issue XYZ? And that is a huge amount of time that is necessary. And therefore, we decided to create EDIHub. It is a platform based on an open source software. We modified it and we installed it on our own servers. So everything is running in Germany at the servers of University of Siegen. Backups are made every night, and all participants from EDIs right now, maybe in the future also from small and medium-sized enterprises, but right now only from EDIs, are really welcome to register for free on our platform. We already have several communities, for example, different working groups. I saw Maria here this morning. She's from working group construction. Several working groups are already using our platform. As I said, also the country group Germany, and also EDIs for their internal collaboration. And more people are joining. We now have over 200 registered people. This is a slide that so it would be better if I showed you this slide at the end, because through that QR code you can access the platform, but maybe we can show it again at the end of the presentation. And now I will show you some screenshots of our platform so that you can see and learn a little bit more about the functionality. So basically, it's a little bit like a social network. And that is why also the European Commission calls this platform the EDIS social network. We are currently in negotiations with the Commission and the DTA, whether it can become an official tool. And I will also present it at the EDIS Summit in June in Brussels. But as you can see here, once you registered, you can see all that spaces here. It's called spaces, and it is a little bit like Facebook groups. And as you can see here, we already have different of those spaces. For example, the EDI Germany group. You cannot see construction because it's rather at the bottom. And everybody is allowed to create a space. And you can also join spaces if you want to, but the space owner also has the opportunity to limit the access if he or she wants to do so. So let's dig deeper into one space. For example, let's use again EDI Germany as an example. You have first of all a news feed here. So you can post new things, you can share information, you can also put certain interest on events that might happen in the future. You can create events. So you have a shared calendar within that space. You can see it here. But it is also possible to have your own personal calendar. So if you belong to other spaces, you will see all the events from that spaces in that calendar here. You can create polls, for example, to find a common appointment. You can also upload files, and that is a really mighty feature because you can not only create and upload files, but you can collaborate on that files instantly. So you can sit here in Sofia and I'm sitting in Germany and we can collaborate, for example, on a presentation or a document together. You can, of course, also invite people to that space, and you also have your personal profile. Today, I brought the profile of Eddie with me, so the mascot of the Eddie network. You can enrich it with information, and you can also enrich it, for example, with skills, so that you can also search for other people on the platform who might have some expertise in specific fields. Yeah, that were at least some slides. I was told that I need to have kind of 5 minutes to discuss. We created a tutorial on that. You can just open YouTube, you can search for EDIHub, and then every functionality is explained really slowly and understandable. And let me maybe quickly shed a little bit light on the future. So what will happen? Probably we will see. First of all, we are thinking about onboarding SMEs. So as I said, right now, only EDIs can collaborate on that platform, individual actors from EDIs, but we are thinking about open it to open it for SMEs to find EDIs that might be interesting for them. And we also tried to implement an AI chatbot, which we call collaboration assistant. So basically we put all the information from the EDI catalog into their chatbot. So we trained it with the data from the EDI catalog. And now it is easier to find, for example, EDIs nearby. As it's stated here, please give me names about EDIs that are using AI in the manufacturing sector. And it's working really, really good. But if you listen to my presentation, we have a bottleneck because, as I said at the beginning, the EDI catalog is not that sufficient in terms of information. And therefore, we need to further enrich the database to really make a value out of this kind of chatbot. So it's right now not available, but hopefully it will be available in the future. And we now also have the European AI innovation ecosystem. We already started to onboard actors from the AI innovation ecosystem. If I may jump quickly back, you can already see that AI Factory Hammerhai is present on the platform, and they created a space so that you can contact them when you are, for example, interested in collaborating with them. And hopefully we will have more TEFs, AI factories, and so on in the future. Yeah, and with that, thank you very much for listening, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you might have some.
Questions, anyone? Robert, while waiting for someone to have his say or her say, I would like to ask you something. You mentioned a few times the EDIH catalog, and you mentioned that it needs improvement. But even in its current version, I see the EDIH of Südwestfalen very well positioned, and if you go at the EDIH page, at the EDIH catalog and check their webpage, you'll see that automotive is among the key sectors, that you're working on. So off the top of your head, well, you're not necessarily prepared to answer, but can you think of a certain business case in which you have worked with the company from the automotive industry that you can just share us briefly, or if not necessary right now, is there anywhere we can read about such best practices? Because mostly the audience today is coming from companies from the automotive sector in Bulgaria, and would be very interested to hear what your hub is doing with similar companies in Germany.
Yeah, definitely. I think I have to use the microphone. So
sure.
Yeah, first of all, sure, you can read about our so-called success stories also on the website of the EDI network. They are available there. But South Westphalia, so our region, is a little bit special because we don't have, for example, BMW or Volkswagen and so on in our region. We rather have the hidden champions, so the third-tier companies nearby. For example, think about small screws, which are also built in your iPhone. They are from South Westphalia. So we are producing the parts that are later on built into the cars, and we have a really, really big car, let's say, industry. And we will see what happens to them with transformation. And just to give one example, you asked for that, we have one of those companies that is building the screws. And for example, we delivered several workshops to them when it comes to integration of AI into their company.
Perfect. It's very similar, your original case with the Bulgarian automotive sector, because indeed here we also have the manufacturers of different components which are building the ecosystem. I saw one question from over there from Rumiana. Is that correct? You have something? Can you say it on the microphone? Just a meter on your right.
Thank you.
If it's on.
Your presentation and the previous presentation remind me, I'm from the Cyber for All EDIH Trachea hub, reminds me that probably in the update of the EDIH network catalog, we have to ask for information whether the EDIH can deliver cross-border or not. Because, for example, for Bulgarian EDIHs, we received answer from our managing authority that we can deliver cross-border services. And this is quite useful information for the companies, right?
So a good idea to optimize. So there should be a checkbox. Yes, I'm open to servicing clients from abroad. And are you open? Are you open to servicing a company interested to collaborate with you from Bulgaria?
Okay. So yeah, definitely. So we can from Germany collaborate with every EDI in the European Union. I mean, this collaboration aspect sometimes also, it's a little bit complicated, but applies to national co-funding, but you also receive a certain amount of funding from the European Union directly. So you definitely have to check that and discuss that with your national and European authorities. But I think this is a good idea, and we should maybe also discuss it at the EDI summit, where the DTA will present hopefully some new insights.
Okay, and lastly, just want to mention that I'm also a user of the EDI Hub platform. Just to invite you to collaborate with our mobility hub to onboard them in the newest thematic working group. As of last month, there is a thematic working group uniting the hubs working on mobility in Europe, and they already have a community on the EDI Hub. So if it's suitable and possible for you, please help us, our hub, on board in this working group so we can facilitate the cooperation.
Yeah, maybe just one last remark. I talked a lot about the working group Germany, but we also have a space which is called EDI International, where all the EDIs from the entire union are, at least interested actors are in. So feel free to share any information, events, and so on in that space.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us today.